We got about 4 more people coming in as well, and we're good.
All right, great, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Ronnie Mickle. I'm with Notary Stars. For those of you that know me, I have asked Bill and Sandra to join us today. Bill actually owns a company where he trains notaries, and together they have written a book on how to supercharge your notary business using LinkedIn. For those of you that train at Notary Stars, you know it's under the Notary Resources section. I'm actually a big fan of the book. And I wanted to bring them here today and do this collaboration together because I have actually seen this book in effect and how it's working. I'm also a fan of using LinkedIn in order to kind of connect through business, connect to other businesses. So I want to introduce both of them. I'll let Bill introduce himself and I'll let Sandra introduce herself. And then we'll get started right into the program.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ronnie. I really appreciate it. Thank you for reaching out. And this is our first collaboration together, and I'm really excited about this one in particular. So guys, my name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of notarycoach.com. I'm the author of Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent. And as Ronnie said, I'm co-author of Supercharge Your Notary Business with LinkedIn and host of the Side Hustle Lounge podcast. I'm very passionate about LinkedIn because I've seen the results from it, and how you can tell if anything's working is your results. I have made incredible connections in my own business. When I was just a loan signing agent on my own, trying to find my own way, formulate my own business, I had to make this business work. And I created a list of daily do's. These were the habits I did every single day to cultivate relationships. And I built a loan signing business just for me that was in the multiple six figures from that effort. And 8 of those 10 daily habits can be done on LinkedIn. And some of the connections I still have today, the clients I have today, were because I met on LinkedIn. So I really believe this works. And every single day, now that the book's published, we get to hear success stories from other notaries who decided to take their business to the next level and get serious on LinkedIn. And it has paid off. It is my honor and my privilege to welcome Sandra Long, my co-author in that book, Supercharge Your Notary Business with LinkedIn. Sandra, thank you so much for being here.
I am excited to be here. So happy to be here. Thanks, Bill.
My pleasure. Sandra, what we're going to talk about today is the importance of having a powerful and dynamic profile. Obviously, I believe LinkedIn can be your master profile, like the one profile that if you just made incredible, you could pull from that and you could upload all your other online directory profiles, anything that you need to create. So today you're going to share with us what that means to create an amazing LinkedIn profile.
Well, thank you so much. And hello, everyone. I do want to start by saying that I met Bill through LinkedIn. And he and he actually read my first book, connected with me, had a lot of passion and enthusiasm. So we've been collaborating, and I am thrilled to be here with Bill, and especially thrilled to be working with Ronnie and this community today. So we are going to dive into LinkedIn. I am going to start off by sharing my screen.
As you're doing that, Sandra, I just want to set expectations for everybody too. Essentially, what we're going to do here is a presentation and a training that Sandra is going to run through. We're going to make you a great offer in between, and then we're going to open this up to live Q&A. So you have Ronnie, you have me, and you have Sandra Long to ask those specific burning questions that you might have about what signing companies are looking for, profile direct questions, how to connect, all that good stuff right here on this call.
No, that's perfect to frame the expectations. Yeah, we will have question and answer, and we want to have a lot of engagement. We want to hear from you in the chat. I'll be asking you a few times to chime in, so we look forward to that as well. All right, I want to start off by sharing with you that the LinkedIn user community is very unique and special when you compare it to any other social media platform, or when you compare it to any other place where you're spending time with your notary, your notary platforms. The LinkedIn members, which now is over 750 million, are the most affluent, educated, and informed people on social media. So they're the people that have the bucks to pay the bill, to hire you, to do the transactions, all of that. And when you think about your ideal clients, this is where they are spending their time online. Now, this is a stat which I find extremely interesting, is that most buyers today are actually researching LinkedIn profiles. And this number came from a few years ago, so I'm quite certain it's even low. It's much higher now. But what this means is when someone is given your name, someone, maybe they refer you, or maybe they've heard about you, they're going to check you out. And most of the time they're going to be looking at LinkedIn, because that's the universe that they're in. They're not spending time in other places. So they're going to look there to sort of validate, are you the person that they really want to talk to? Are you the person that they want to call? All right. We hear about personal branding, and a lot of times, not just the notaries, but whatever business profession you're in, a lot of questions come up about personal brand versus company brand. And I even see people set up LinkedIn profiles where they put their company name as if it's in a personal profile, which is really what you don't want to do. So I want to distinguish the two. Your personal profile is set up with your name, and it's all of your personal information. And then you'll also have the opportunity for a company page. And to me, all of it should reflect your brand, and they tie together. Unlike, Facebook or Instagram, you're really there as yourself, your own person. But in LinkedIn, your company brand and your personal brand very much are intertwined. But your personal brand is the most important as a notary. And I would say, even if you weren't a notary, if you were some other profession, it is the most important aspect of your brand. So here's a few examples of how we display our brand on profiles. You'll see myself and Bill and Ronnie. And a couple of things I want to point out. You'll see we have our name, we have headlines, and you'll see we have images. So there's a combination of words that we use, as well as images that we have to portray our brand. And one of the things you'll see too, a link to our company. So for my profile, you'll see Post Road Consulting. If you click on that link, you'll get over to my company page. And it's the same thing for Bill and Ronnie. So you'll be able to do that. If you have a LinkedIn profile, you'll be able to have a company page and have those two linked as well. So the value of a personal brand has to do with the impression that you're creating, the connection, and really your ability to attract people. As I mentioned, Bill found me on LinkedIn. I'm sure when he was looking for me, if he got to my profile and he was turned off, he probably wouldn't have sent me that message, right? So he, everything we're doing, it's like we have this digital footprint, and we want to make sure that we are being the best that we can online, just like we do the same thing when you walk into a networking meeting. You want to put a smile on, you want to shake hands. Well, soon we'll be shaking hands, but you want to create a great impression when you meet someone, and it's exactly the same online. When Bill and I were writing the book, we thought a lot about this, and we said, what are those qualities that people look for in a notary? Because those qualities and those values are really important. I think a lot of people consider LinkedIn all about, what is your expertise and where do you work? But it's so much more than that. It really, the things that are important about you, why somebody would hire you, these are the kind of reasons that someone would hire you. So you want to be thinking about, how does this come across? And there's a lot of opportunity to do that. And it's really your unique value. Each one of you is different in terms of what your values are, your approach to the business, what kind of expertise you have. And one of the things that we also definitely took note of is many of the notaries have what we call a portfolio career. And we wrote about this in the book. So you might be a notary, but you might also be doing fingerprinting or being involved in the wedding business. You could be doing all of these things. So let's put that in the chat. If you're if you have a portfolio career, maybe you put that in the chat and let us know. And I'll give you a moment to do that, because I have a feeling that a lot of you have this situation. So Bill, are we starting to see some answers?
Yeah, we sure are. We got wedding officiant. We got lots of yeses. We have apostille agent.
Mm-hmm.
Bookkeeping, tax preparation, real estate investor, general notary work, loan signings, fingerprinting, immigration assistance. I got one that says all of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
EMR trainer, transcription, realtor, auditor, insurance agent. Yeah.
great.
Lots of them.
So when you think about your career, then many of you or most of you have multiple offerings, multiple businesses perhaps, and you want to make sure that whoever does come to your profile, that there's some clarity, because somebody could come to your profile, your LinkedIn profile, because they're interested in you as a notary, but you could also have someone come to your profile because they're interested in fingerprinting or the weddings. So it's your job to clarify that on LinkedIn. And we'll be talking in a few moments about your essay, but your experience sections, you can have experience sections for all those different aspects of your career. And really, again, make it clear so that there's no confusion. So in addition to your experience, I love to think about this as your brand voice. And years ago, it just didn't really even occur to me, but recently in the last couple of years, we've seen particularly people on LinkedIn really come across very authentically. And you absolutely can get a sense that people have a brand voice. It's their personality, their values, their approach. So I want you to think about, how do you come across? What is your brand voice? And of course, your expertise, you want to use very specific language. Instead of just saying you're a notary, you want to be clear about the type of notary services that you provide. And then, of course, there's a lot of other opportunities in terms of language. So these are some sample keywords. We have many more in the book, but you want to think about, what are the words that people would search for, that they would look for to hire you? And then you'll be able to use those throughout your profile. And Bill and I suggest writing your profile in the first person. That means that Bill's not going to say Bill Soroka or Mr. Soroka. And Ronnie's not going to say, Ronnie. He's going to say I or my. All of us would use I or my. And that is a friendly, more approachable way. It is social media. You can be professional, and you can also write it in such a way. You don't have to come across as boastful, especially if you're talking about how you help customers and your values. All of those kind of things come across really nicely in the first person. Now, Bill and Ronnie and I had a conversation last week about this and how very important it is for you as a notary to build confidence in you and what you bring to the table. And there's a lot of ways to do that on LinkedIn. And so there's courses, you can add courses that maybe you've taken, certifications, honors and awards, and skills. So here's an example. A license, a certification. There's a whole section you can add whatever those certifications might be. And that will definitely bring a lot of credence to people who visit your profile. And your skills are important. I have to tell you, I see many professionals that have, Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Word as their top skill. And if you're a notary, you definitely want to have your notary skills rise to the top. So that's something that's really important. So I'm going to ask Ronnie to chime in here, because he had some great insights about this, how important it was to share training and certification. So Ronnie, can you help us here?
Sure. So it's something that we talk about at Notary Stars, but for those of you who don't know, I also own a signing agency, and we close about anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 signings a month nationwide. And in the local markets, we really know who's who because we build relationships with our notaries. But when we're looking out at notary profiles, And it's not just on LinkedIn. Again, you can take your LinkedIn profile and use that to build your signing agency profiles on SnapDocs and Signing Order. And when I look at a notary profile and I'm getting ready to assign a notary, I look for things like what certification courses do they have listed. I also look for, you know, any skills that they translate. A lot of people come from different industries and move into, you know, becoming a loan signing agent. And I look for translatable skills that they have been able to identify what they're bringing with them from their previous employment or their previous job. And these are the profiles that stand out the most to me, because I'm looking at someone who's actually conscious about what industry they're working in. And that means more to me than how many signings you've done, because it means to me that you're looking, you know, you're looking at yourself like a product. You're trying to sell yourself. And I have a lot of heart to go for someone who says, hey, these are the skills I have. I want to bring them to the forefront and catch your eye. And then I'm able to work with that person. Training, though, you have to list every bit of training from the NNA. If you took Bill's course, if you took our course, Notary to Pro, any of those courses are going to stand out. And in a market that's highly competitive right now, it's going to mean more to anybody wanting to work with you. The more education and training that you have listed, the more trustworthy you become.
I love that. I think it's great. I think everything you said it really resonates. So, you know, of course, I think about it as you know, from the LinkedIn perspective, and everything you said really, I'm going to go back. So these 4 sections really apply to everything. And I'm sure when you take it and translate it to those other platforms, there's going to be different ways to do that. But you mentioned courses, Ronnie, and, you know, certifications. What about awards or honors? I mean, are there certain things there that they need to be thinking about?
There can be, you know, I tell notaries, I love that you had a slide in here about not bragging or boasting, but, you know, kind of bringing it to the forefront. Skills are a big section. Honors and awards are not really given in our community. However, what I personally like to do, I actually started doing this. My profile has actually changed a lot since we started working together, so it looks a little bit different. But one of the things that I think you can kind of get honors or awards from is the endorsements on LinkedIn that you can get from your professional connections. I actually had some of our notaries write about how they like working with Unlimited Ink. I had some of our escrow officers go out and put endorsements on there. So I would say that would be kind of the honors and awards section. There's a big honor of Notary of the Year, but there's only, you know, one of those every year. So good luck if you're the one who gets that. But you don't want to go out and create awards for yourself. You know, you want to be honest about what you actually have to offer.
That's great. You know, and I think, Bill, you and I talked about some of the notaries are in Toastmasters, right? And they might get a Toastmasters award.
Yep, definitely. That's been a huge benefit to the notary community.
Excellent, excellent. I believe that one of the folks that I know, wonderful lady, she was awarded, I think it's something called the NNA Ambassador, something like that. I would put in honors and awards. And, you know, you mentioned endorsements and recommendations. So endorsements are something that's really attached to the skills on LinkedIn. So that means when you have your skills there, your client can come in and endorse you with a click, and so that it will show that you've received endorsements, which is wonderful. And Ronnie also mentioned recommendations, which is a written testimonial. All of this kind of does tie together because it's all part of what we call social proof, right? And those recommendations are wonderful. So after you've had a successful project, it's great to ask your clients to write those. So thank you, Ronnie and Bill.
And if you don't mind me adding in, one thing that I actually tell our notaries here is I have 3 to 4 saved on a notepad ways of people that can work with me. And I try to pick on my feet which is the best way for me to ask for that review when I know I've knocked it out of the park with them. And I think it's important to always ask for the recommendation or the review. Even if you're only going to work with someone one time, ask. And what I do is I offer them, like if it's a title officer or a notary, if if we've worked well together, if you write me a recommendation, I will in turn write you a recommendation.
Yep. I'm a big believer in not just asking, but offering them and giving them is huge. And I know Bill believes in that too. I love your idea that you're really trying to be strategic about it, Ronnie, and make it part of your habit. And, the funny thing is, when you ask a client for a recommendation, it's almost like, where are they comfortable? Some of them would rather, either go to LinkedIn, or maybe they want to go to Google or to your website, but making sure you have the conversation is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thanks. All right. So now we're ready. Are you guys ready for a golden opportunity? Because the golden opportunity is the fact that you can write about yourself. Now, believe it or not, some people get nervous, or often, honestly, a good half of the people don't bother to do this, or they haven't written it in the first person. They haven't taken the time. And I tell you, this is a really golden opportunity, because it's your chance to introduce yourself, and you want to make it personal and what's uniquely important to you. Now, Ronnie mentioned something really important. He said about skills. He said, oftentimes people are coming into the notary business, they used to be doing something else. Well, it's great to have your skills there, but wouldn't it be wonderful to use that essay to then talk about how you've transitioning into this business? If being great with customer service or attention to detail, whatever those things are, if those are some of the key attributes you have, your essay is a chance to kind of bring the story together, right? And it's also the chance to bring together the fact that you've got this portfolio career, because if you just list your jobs, like I'm a wedding officiant, I'm a notary, guess what? People are going to come to your profile and they're not going to know what to make of you. It's like, what is this? What does he do? What does she do? I don't understand. Is she a notary? Is she a wedding officiant? And so the essay and the headline are your chance to frame it all, to really put it in perspective, so that people, you want, again, the person who's coming to look at you from all these different vantage points, that it makes sense, and they go, aha, I get what she does, I get what he does. So it's really a golden opportunity. And oh, by the way, Bill and I talk a lot about that golden opportunity in the book. So that's a lot about writing about yourself, the keywords and, the certifications and the essay. You also, your headshot is very important. Your visual.
Hey, Sandra,
yes.
Before you move into the headshot, can I talk a little bit more on the essay?
Please do. Please do.
So on the essay, I mean, if you have any aversion to high school, you might not want to even say the word essay, but it's like where you write your profile information, and it really gives you an opportunity to weave the story about who you are and why you are passionate about what you do. And as Ronnie and Sandra said, if you have other skill sets, and I would encourage you to recognize that you were great at something before you became a notary public. You have amazing skills that made you really good at something: customer service, engineering, a police officer, teachers, in the military, all of those skills, literally everything that you've learned and you've refined and were good at in another career is going to serve you really well here. So even though it's a little shaky and you're figuring out notary rules and the etiquette around all this, and it's intimidating, all of those other skill sets are going to serve you. And this narrative, this essay, is an opportunity to weave that story and how you can structure that. Because if you're going to use LinkedIn as your master profile, one profile to rule them all, so that you can take from LinkedIn and you can add into signingagent.com and add into Notary Cafe and Notary Stars and Reverse Notary and all of these up and coming directories that are out there. The way you can structure it is that first paragraph can be kind of a synopsis that really lays out why you're passionate about it, how you're committed to constant continuous improvement, that Kaizen that I talk about a lot. The continuing education pieces, everything that makes you special and makes you stand out can be in your first paragraph. And then you can roll out, if you decide to go a little further than that, which I highly encourage you to do. Not everybody reads past that, but it gives you an opportunity to use all of the character spaces that LinkedIn allows for to really paint the picture. And if you have dreams that are bigger than just being a loan signing agent or just being a notary, if you're anticipating building an empire out of this with courses, books, all the other different ventures that you can do, the fingerprinting, then that stuff matters even more. But at least you'll have that first paragraph. You can copy and paste that right into all of your other directories, because those other directories have a lot less character allowance. But LinkedIn has a huge space for you, and I encourage you to use it and then copy and paste.
And then can I add one thing to that, Bill?
Please.
So one thing that I want to make sure that we mention, and I hope I'm not talking about it too far, is if you are in a transition period, make sure that you're making your skills translatable to the career that you're most primarily focused on at this moment. I had a hard time with this. I moved from the restaurant industry, working bars and restaurants, into the notary career. I spent a time building websites, thought I was going to do that, and found out about notary, and here I am a decade later. But I actually went to someone that helped me build a resume. This is before LinkedIn got popular and things like that. And I learned a lot from them about making the skills that I had in the restaurant industry and the bar industry more translatable into my notary career. And I put things like, time management, customer service oriented, all of those things. And I didn't focus on the restaurant industry or the hospitality industry. Those might have been my job titles, but all of the skills that I list under those are actually translatable to the notary career. And when I wrote my bio, I talk about why I moved into this type of industry. So you do want to make sure that you use translatable skills that are going to relate to what you're doing currently.
Great. Ronnie and Bill, those are great tips. So, I mean, we can paint the picture with our words. So that essay section is important. And also the headline, which is the very top, under your name and under your photo, has been expanded. So now we can do 220 characters. So when you think about when people come to your profile, their first impression is of course, is that headshot and the headline, right? And that's called an introduction card, that very top of your profile. And if they're interested in you, they're gonna scroll down and check out the essay, right? So it all works together. Now your headshot is super important. I love this headshot because it's a beautiful smile, and you want to have it your shoulders and up. You don't want to have a full body. You don't want to have other people in the photo. Your headshot is something that helps instill trust and likability. And so that's why it's going to be really important for you to do that.
Yeah, let's, I really want to drive home how important having a headshot is. And even if you're not doing it on LinkedIn, if you're choosing to do it on signingagent.com or any of those other directory profiles, please have a picture of yourself. I will skip right over profiles that do not have a photo because I need to know who I'm working with. So it's always last resorts are the ones that don't have a photo. Ronnie, what do you think on this?
I always tell notaries, if you want to know, like my photo on LinkedIn and for everything for the last year and a half has been a wedding that I did. It's actually just a, photo kind of like that, but it's at a wedding that I did. You don't have to go out and invest, but take a look at title agencies when they have their photo in their email. Go to websites like title agencies and look at the people who work there. Go to the realtors. Realtors are really great to look at. Because every realtor that's out there has a professional headshot. It's a big deal for the sale. I don't know why notaries don't feel the same way. Maybe we don't have it. When you go into a realty company and you hang your license, they give you all this grooming and talking. But I see notaries in profiles, who have, it's not just the lack of quality or initiative, but, I've seen duck face with sparklies around their faces. I've seen, this is not Instagram. This is not Facebook. You want to make sure that you have a good professional photo to represent you. And, I've been said before, and I don't know why this is, so it's a good time to announce it since we have more viewers here today. I've actually been said that I'm profiling people. because I look for a photo. But the fact of the matter is that I want to see who is going out to my signers tables. I want to see how they're representing themselves. I've hired notaries with purple hair. You know, I don't care what color, what your nationality is, but I want to see how you're representing your business. And when I see a nice smile and a confident, you know, face out there, doesn't matter to me who you are. It just matters that you took that time to represent yourself and your notary business properly.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ronnie and Bill. So in the very beginning of this presentation, I showed you Ronnie and Bill and myself, our introduction card at the top, and you saw our headshots, and you saw we each had a unique banner behind us. And there's lots of different things you can do in terms of creating a banner, so that's that visual aspect that's, you know, in addition to your headshot, which is really, really nice to incorporate. And it could be something that's very specific to your company, could be to your town. Sometimes people have, you know, the city skyline of whatever city you're from, or it could be something very like patriotic or very much like a notary business. Now, my favorite new feature from the last year is actually called Featured. So it's a feature called Featured. And it is just tremendous. I'm actually showing here in this example some of the featured items, some of the featured media that is in Bill Soroka's profile. So hopefully you'll be able to go back after this presentation, check out Bill, check out me, check out Ronnie to see what we have in our profile. And I'm going to ask Bill to make a comment about the value of featured and kind of what recommendations you might have.
Yeah, happy to. So to me, the featured section really gives you an opportunity to show off any of your, so in our case, it's usually services. So you might have wedding officiant services, you might have special, for me, I really carved a niche out by being available super early in the morning. And I had to train my escrow officers to know that I was serious. Give me those 5 a.m. signings. And then they started offering those. So that would be a service, early morning signings, or the fingerprinting service, or anything else that you want to show off about what you do. And then some of the feedback I've gotten from notaries is that, well, I set it up here. Why do I need to feature it somewhere else? Trust me, you do. You guys, I sent out 5 email reminders about the starting time and the link of this email, because you just never know how you're going to catch people. I word it differently. Different words are going to catch different people. Pictures are going to catch attention in a different way. It could be timing. So even if you mention your different services in your essay and you have it in your employment section, having it featured with a graphic card and Canva, guys, Canva will be your best friend in this business. They have a free version and a paid version, but you can create amazing online graphics using Canva. And that's exactly what I did there and what Sandra was showing you. Those are just Canva graphics of the different services, products that I might offer. And even if you don't have a book or an online course, you've got various services that you can do. Your loan signing aspect of your business is a service you provide. Your general notary work is a service. Last wills and testaments, estate planning documents is a service that you can feature.
So I love that, Bill. What about the idea of being active in the community? I know that a lot of notaries that are very successful are not only maybe they're part of, you know, doing like courses that we talked about, being part of Toastmasters, but they're also volunteering, or they're, you know, they're joining groups. What do you think about using this section for community type things?
You know, even if it's volunteering for other organizations or anything that you're passionate about, I think there's a place here. And this is actually how I have connected with people, knowing what they're into, knowing what drives them, what they're passionate about, how they're giving back to the world. When it connects with me, those are the people I reach out to, because that allows me to have a conversation that's different than a lot of other marketing or sales type of connections. But also in our community, and what I love about our community in particular in this notary world is that we're very loving and supportive. If you're on this call, it's probably because of TNT or Sign and Thrive, in a community where we support each other. Notary Stars and Carol Ray's Notary to Pro, all coming together to help each other succeed. And a lot of these notaries have reached back and they pull their hands forward. So they might have features. They might have an article that says, hey, the notary business changed my life forever. If you're looking for an additional income, here's some steps that I use to get started. Anything like that is very powerful in this section.
Thank you so much.
So are we going to talk about articles here?
Let's do that.
Okay, because this is huge too. In the very beginning, Sandra mentioned that when you get mentioned to somebody else, and I notice this a lot in the attorney community, but if somebody refers you to another person, that person is probably going to look you up on LinkedIn. So your LinkedIn profile, well, the essay is important, your headline, the profile picture, having that cover photo actually does make a huge difference. All of that professionalism is helpful, but your activity and the posts that you make also are extremely important. So if you're delivering value, and this ties into, and Ronnie, I know this was really important to talk about too, but your ideal customer, knowing who your ideal customer is helps you craft amazing content for your LinkedIn page. If you're talking to attorneys, you'll have posts that attorneys are going to find helpful and valuable. If you're talking to escrow officers, you're going to have posts that escrow officers are going to find valuable. If you're trying to attract real estate agents or loan officers or whoever it is, you're going to make posts that's relevant to your target audience. It's so important to know who you're talking to and then talk to them. What I have found in my experience is that a lot of notaries, they don't get really clear on it's called a customer avatar, their ideal customer. They don't get really clear on who that is. So we default into talking to each other. So here we have this LinkedIn page where we're trying to build a business. We want to do just estate planning documents. We want to get more attorneys because we love that business and we love the revenue that it generates. But then all of our posts are just talking to other notaries about training or about doing this or the Secretary of State or raise our fees. And then attorneys that would happen across that or look at your profile see no relevance to their business. So they're not going, it's going to kind of works against you. So tip one is get really clear on who your ideal customer is and who you want to talk to, and then talk to them.
So I love that. So the posts that you make, whether it's, the content, there's all kinds of content opportunities on LinkedIn, which we're not even going to have time to go into, but there's loads of them. There's about a dozen different types of content. And he mentioned too, posts and articles are fantastic. They can be in the feed, but they can also be featured here right in your profile. So that have a longer life. So another great way to use the featured section. So thank you, Bill. So we've talked about, amazing, pulling together, your portfolio career, showing your different experiences, writing about yourself, your training and certifications, all of that being important as far as when people arrive at your page. But I do want to say that you want people to also be able to find you. And if your page isn't complete, if you don't have an all-star profile, then you're going to be more difficult to find, especially if you have a name that's like mine. Sandra Long is very common. I believe there's 500 at least on LinkedIn. So, and most of us have other people with our same name. And even without that issue, you want to make sure your profile is 100% complete. So not only does it attract people and tells the right story, but that they can easily find you by putting they might put in notary, Richmond, Virginia, or, Detroit, Michigan, whatever they're looking for. You want to be found in what's called a keyword search, but you also want to be found in a name search. So you want to be sure to use your name that you normally use, not some name that's different from what's on your email, your commonly used name. You want to have your contact information so people can actually reach you. The skills that we talked about at great length with Ronnie, those skills are really going to help you to be found. The experience sections, that's where you can have your portfolio career. Having at least 3 experience sections filled out helps you to be found. So if you only list notary or only list one thing, your profile is not as easily found in terms of the algorithm. And then of course your location. Oftentimes people would be looking for you based on a city location. So you want to make sure that's in there. Your industry, your education, even if you didn't go to college, I want you to have an education section filled out. Put your high school in, because education is one of the key components to creating an all-star profile. So make sure you have education in there. Your keywords we talked about, and of course your about and your headline are ways that you can absolutely be more easily found. So on top of all the profile piece, the connections in the activity that you have are going to make a difference. So if you have, 5 connections versus 500 connections, it's a huge difference in people finding you. Because when people do a search, they're going to be searching, if they're using the free version of LinkedIn, in what's called their LinkedIn network, which is their first level, second level, third level, and groups. If you're beyond that, you're not going to be able to be found very easily. And so that's why you want to have a lot of valuable connections to be found. All right. Now, on top of being found on LinkedIn, having an optimized profile helps you to be found on Google. So even if we said someone maybe isn't on LinkedIn and they type in your name on Google, you want them to find your LinkedIn profile, even if they don't have an account. So here you can see on Google, my name's Sandra Long. And you'll notice if you put in Sandra Long or put in your own name, your LinkedIn profile should come up as one of the first entries in Google. And I want that. I want them to find my LinkedIn profile. I don't want them to find a Sandra Long in Wisconsin who got arrested. I don't want that in Google. I want them to find my LinkedIn profile. So that's another reason to be optimized. And on the right-hand side, you can see you can toggle all of that. You're in charge of what Google is going to show someone who's not on the LinkedIn platform. All of those are toggles. So I can decide, and I generally want everything to be visible. I want people to be able to see my name, my experience, my essay, like all of it, because I've worked on it. That's my professional brand. I want people to find me.
Can I elaborate here for just 1 second?
Yeah, please do.
I know we have a lot of loan signing agents on the call, obviously, but if you are really looking to grow your business on the general notary work side, which I highly recommend in most states, if it calls to you, it can be pretty lucrative and rewarding. But search engine optimization is how you are going to grow your business. What that means is that's putting keywords, links, graphics, content, so much onto your website that makes you relevant to search engines. And LinkedIn already has a huge, just like Sandra said, it's a huge, what's that word I'm looking for? It has huge relevance. Google trusts it. So yeah. whenever you are optimized on LinkedIn, it helps make you optimize. So even if you have a website that maybe doesn't hit the optimization standards yet, you still might pop up with your LinkedIn profile. That's how important this can be to grow in your business.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I'm just about to ask in a moment a very important question to Ronnie. But before that, I want to share with you a couple of interesting things. There's some new features that are on the way out, on the way in, I should say. And some of you are on the way to being, out, I guess. They're being rolled out currently, and it's very exciting. So one of them is a cover photo. That means a little video, a little 20-second video, right where your profile picture is. That is coming out. Some people already have it. There's also, they're going to be adding gender pronouns. I just got this, I think it was on Monday, it just rolled out for me. So I can go and put my gender pronouns in here if I choose. They're also coming out with something called creator mode, which means you can reorient your profile. If you're someone who's producing a lot of content, writing articles and posts, you can rearrange the top of your profile so that it's more oriented toward getting followers and producing content. The other thing that's going to happen if you're doing LinkedIn Live It's going to show the video on your banner. So like amazing things are happening, but probably one of the most relevant, in addition to the cover video for you guys, is the service page. And I just found that I just had this new feature. So you can come and onto your profile, and now there's a special page which gives you up to 500 characters to describe your services. And so it's associated with your profile. So perfect for the notary business. And I'm excited because all the time, LinkedIn is always coming up with new features constantly. And that's something that that's what I do 100% of my time, is keep up with it, so that I make sure that everyone that I'm associated with is aware of all the new features, because they're changing constantly. So this leads me to a very important question that I'm going to ask Ronnie. So Ronnie, tell us, what are signing agents looking for?
And you're
I unmute there. So when we're looking for a notary, there's a lot of things that we go into. Bringing it back to what we're talking about today, when I look at a notary's profile and I'm getting ready to hire a notary, I look for that profile photo. I look for the credentials that they've entered into their bio. I also am big for name droppers. I tell people to name drop. If you work for the bigger signing agencies, like if you work for Amrock, I already know that it's insanely difficult sometimes to work for Amrock. They're very hard on their notaries. You know, if you miss one signature, you're out of work for 30 days on their quality score ding. So I look for those names if they're actually working with other companies. I like to see notaries who are gearing their information, and I have about enough time to read about 2 to 3 sentences on when I'm going through signing order profiles. I need to see that they got a professional photo. I need to see their information. And the next thing that I go by is, I definitely go by their credentials. So we look for Notary to Pro, Notary Stars, any credentials that they listed there. But then the next thing that we look for is also their order count. How have they been active in the last, 12 months on the different platforms? And then we also go by feedback. A lot of notaries are unaware that, they can be rated based on several different factors with working, whether they're working through signing order or SnapDocs or a lot of platforms. There's like an internal feedback that goes onto a notary's profile, and it stays there forever or indefinitely until the company removes it. And so we do take that into consideration as well. I've worked with notaries who have negative feedback and they've wound up being great for us. We've worked with notaries that have great feedback and wound up being terrible for us. So feedback doesn't always mean everything. Sometimes what you write in your profile can overshadow a negative comment. If I see that you have a negative comment on you 2 years ago because you made a rookie mistake, but since then you've taken Notary to Pro and Notary Stars and Sign and Thrive, and you've been to Bill for training, or you've done additional training, I might not look at that negative feedback in your profile.
So you're looking at the totality.
We're looking at the totality. At Unlimited Ink, we try to get every order assigned within 30 minutes of it being put in from the title agency. That's one thing that they like about us, is that we've built such a relationship with the notaries in the areas that we work with. We have a quick turnaround time on scheduling. That's a problem that they have with some signing agencies. They'll let orders just sit there and assign them, whenever they want to. So I look at totality, but I also look, I've been doing it so long now that I'm seeing it all at a glance, but I actually we have a rule here. So we let every notary within 25 miles of any signing location see the signing, and we give it a certain amount of time for those notaries to respond, unless they're one of our white glove notaries and it automatically gets assigned. We want to know every notary who wants to know that order, and then we actually read their profiles. So if you say yes, we actually read your profile and look at all of those things to decide who will be the best notary. Then we also have one little factor that's fair. If we have 2 great notaries and one's 1 mile away and one's 25 miles away, we're going to go to the one with 1 mile away, because it's going to be less driving for them and more fair for them to get the assignment.
Okay, so that is a really good kind of overview of, you know, you're describing what signing agents are looking for. And I think if you all put the hat on of your other types of prospects and clients, whether it's attorneys or all those other folks, think about what they're looking for. And again, they don't have all the resources that Ronnie has. They're probably just going to LinkedIn, maybe they're going to Google. Think about what they're doing and the process they're going through to make the decision of who to work with. So that was super interesting. Thank you, Ronnie. So I have this mantra, and I actually even have this on my headline, which is be the friend first. And what this means, and I have to tell you, I have to just, when we had the conversation, I know Bill, I've known Bill for a long time, and he and I are very much like-minded in this. And I was so delighted meeting Ronnie recently, because he even brought this up himself. That's how he likes to engage, is really being that helpful person online and offline. It just totally resonated with everything. And so using LinkedIn, you know, we have so many opportunities to build relationships. So yes, we talked about our profiles being important. We want to attract people, but it does come down to how we interact. Like, are we connecting with a friendly message? Are we, you know, recommending and introducing people? Are we putting friendly, helpful comments out? My worst thing is connecting with someone and then automatically pitching them. We all get those kind of messages, right? And it's such a turnoff. And a lot of people actually teach that that's the way to do it. And I'm here to tell you that that is not a good way to go. You want to build relationships and be friendly. And Bill and Ronnie and I all think the same way about this, right, guys?
Absolutely. Pet peeve of mine too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I do not like to be pitched in the first mess. I don't like, well, and I always use the dating analogy, like cultivating a relationship. If you were going to ask somebody to marry them, you've probably been with them for a long time. What happens a lot of times is people try to ask me out, start dating, marry me, have kids, retire, all in the first LinkedIn message, or the first text message, or the first email. It just doesn't work, guys. Got to let it organically grow.
I also find that it works better when you show interest in someone else when you're reaching out through LinkedIn. It show interest in what they're doing, and then and you know, congratulate them on their successes. Express your admiration for them. Nobody wants to work with someone who just wants a paycheck. I mean, we want to build those relationships, like Sandra said, and I get that a lot with notaries who want to come and work with Unlimited Ink. You know, they start out like, you know, I want to get there and this is all I can do for you. They don't ask me anything about Unlimited Ink. You know, how does it work? What are your processes? And those sorts of things. And I think you don't even know what you're getting into, because we're kind of a high maintenance signing agency. And you may not want to work with us because we have such high standards. You know, that's one of our worst complaints for notaries is we ask too much. But we have very high levels of standards because our clients expect that high level. So I like when people start out, could you tell me a little bit about Unlimited Ink? And then I'm like, here you go. And that starts a great conversation because I like talking about my own company.
Right. And think about, that's so 100% true. Think about every one of your prospects versus you just saying, I can do the notary work, but showing interest in their business, in them. What do they care about? That always is the way to go, is absolutely. Another idea, and thank you so much for saying that, Ronnie. Another idea is what I call a gratitude post. You know, showing gratitude always is a wonderful thing for you to do to build relationships. And you know, you can be very visible and be appreciative of other people. So great thoughts.
I just want to make one little comment on the gratitude. Be very careful in the notary industry posting. If you're working with attorneys or title agencies, some of them do not allow you to use their name in post. We actually have to get permission from any of our clients, even on my personal social media where some of them are my friends. We are not allowed to use their company name. Now I can say, thank you, Miss So-and-so, for a great week this week on Facebook, but I am not allowed to use her company name at all. And that's even, we can't ask for certain reviews for certain companies. So if you're going to do it strategically, where you say, I have a beautiful client in the Phoenix area that gave us a great month this week, and we just want to thank them for that. But try not to use company names unless you've gotten permission to do so.
Yep. Great advice.
Great suggestion.
Great advice. Thank you for that. So we are almost going to be getting into questions. I'm sure that there's plenty of questions, but before we do that, I'd like to share with you an opportunity. Or Bill, I know you asked me to do this.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll jump in here, guys. One of the turning points in my business was reading Sandra's first book and then ultimately taking her course, which is now called the LinkedIn Club. And it really changed everything. So we talked a lot of kind of some high overview topics here about what we could be doing. If you are interested, if you're committed to learning the details about how to do this strategically, then I'm going to encourage you to join Sandra's LinkedIn Club. Now, this is not for everybody. I'll tell you that right now. If you're kind of like I was, and you are a course collector and you just want to sign up for a course and it's just going to sit there and you're not going to use it, this isn't for you. This is for people who are ready to take action today. Because what Sandra's course is, it's a very highly specific and hands-on course. In fact, I have even joined Sandra for monthly, we call them the Ask Us Anything calls, but we will literally review your profile, your LinkedIn profile for you, offer suggestions, help write copy, all of that on top of the course content. But it's limited. It's a 6-month program. So you get 6-month access to get in and finally update and take your LinkedIn profile and your business to the next level. If you're interested in that, Sandra already for our notary community has offered an incredible price. I think it was $195. But for those who are on the call and participating in this, there's another 30% discount. And if you use the link that I'm posting into the chat, you can get that. And you want to use coupon code Bill30 to get the 30% off promotion. So that makes it like $136 for 6 months access. And then that's 6 sessions with Sandra and I going through your LinkedIn profile on that, plus all of the other videos that are in the library that way. And in addition to that, Sandra has other calls that are for the main course. So that's just a notary specific call where I come in and hang out with you guys and we review those profiles. But she's very active in that group and community, and the community itself is very active with all of this. So if you'd like to join us, I encourage you to do so. It's right there. Of course, I'll send out the email replay. I'll have the link again. So no stress, no worries there. Sandra, anything else you'd like to say on that before we move to Q&A?
Yeah, no, just that you get immediate access to all the video courses, and we do about 3 Zoom sessions per month. And one of them is just for notaries, but we have Zoom sessions on all different topics, and we'd love to have you join. And Bill will give us the link. And so thank you for sharing that information, Bill. I would love to see more people, more notaries in our LinkedIn club.
Yeah, we've got a great little group in there. I absolutely love being a part of it.
It's so fun.
All right. Let's hit these questions, guys. First of all, we have a great list that were already in the chat. So I think we're going to kind of start with these. And as you get more, just add them to the chat. And we might even ask some live ones here really quick. Okay, so okay, we're going to start with this one. We're going to go back to the multiple businesses or the portfolio career. If you have multiple businesses, should you have separate profiles, or can you have separate profiles? So in other words, if you have multiple businesses, do I have to create several different LinkedIn accounts?
Well, actually, you're not allowed to have more than one. You only can have one LinkedIn profile per person. And not only is that a rule by LinkedIn, but it also makes sense. Right? Because oftentimes, people think that their life is so compartmentalized, but you'd be surprised how many people might know you for one thing, but then there might be opportunities maybe there's opportunities for them to refer you for something else. So you really only want to have one LinkedIn profile. And it gets back to what we talked about. Use the different experience sections to detail what you're offering, what you're doing, and then use that essay to kind of weave it together and tell your story.
Yeah. And I think too, with the new services page, that might actually help out too. And we haven't even got into company pages very much either, but if you had different brands for those different businesses, you could use a separate company page for each one of those different brands, but so just one personal profile.
Right. But that 100% what Bill said is correct. So if you have different company names, you can have a different company page for each one of those companies, which would then show the different logos in your profile.
Awesome.
Question.
So, we had a great question. Can we set up a LinkedIn profile in multiple languages?
Absolutely. And it's a wonderful thing to do. So what I would suggest you do is set up your profile in your main language, assuming it's English, get it all exactly the way you want to have it. And then you can create a profile that's associated with it. You actually create, it's connected. You have to do the translation. So you don't count on LinkedIn to do that. You would take that and translate it, and then you would just copy and paste that into your secondary language one. It's a great idea.
Love that. If you were previously a mortgage loan officer and previously was a realtor, but don't hold current licenses, do you bring this up?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. What you used to do is important. It speaks to your professional background. The fact, and I always want to show where I was before. I mean, for a couple of reasons. I mean, it shows your expertise, the depth of knowledge, your perspective, but it also helps you with networking. People might know you from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and this will help them to remember, oh yeah, that's Ronnie. That's the Ronnie that I knew from, and it's sort of helping them to connect the dots.
I love that, especially if you aren't currently licensed. And what I will throw in here too, and Ronnie, I wonder if you have some perspective too, but some clients, escrow clients, they work for companies that have policies against using a loan signing agent that is also a licensed real estate agent. So I encourage everybody to remember, value is in the eye of the beholder. So not everybody in the industry is going to see value in your real estate license or your lending license, whatever that might be. So be conscientious. Remember, this isn't about simply copying, pasting into every single profile. Remember that on SnapDocs, there might be people on SnapDocs that don't see the value in your real estate license. So you might not include it in there. You might include it on LinkedIn. You might not. It just depends on the way it's being used.
I definitely have a comment on that, if it's okay. So I'm speaking from the notary perspective. That's who I believe is the majority of the people on the call today. From the notary perspective, if you're gearing your profile toward being a notary and you're a former loan officer, or you're a former title and escrow agent, or former realtor, I think it's very important for you to make it clear that you've really gone down the notary road, and that's where you're really working now. It's okay that you were a former realtor. I have seen some of the biggest problems come from those who use that experience to say, well, I know everything in this industry because I worked in this sector. Some of the worst debacles we've had have been from former real estate agents, former loan officers for other companies, because they get so used to working that process. And when you go into the notary world, you have to be able to work with so many different lenders and so many different title agencies, and they all work differently when they come together at different places. And so you have to really showcase your training as a notary. You have to really showcase that you've retrained your brain and retrained your skills. It does look good as long as you can show that you've made that leap from coming from those industries into this industry.
Excellent. Yeah, because in that industry, you're paid for your advice. In this industry, you can get sued if you give advice. So
exactly.
You don't want to deal with that. How long should that essay be, Sandra? How long do you think?
Well, it is personal preference. It used to be a limit of 2,000 characters, but last fall it was increased to 2,600 characters. So what that tells me is that LinkedIn recognized that, you know, that people needed more space. They were offering more opportunity to talk about yourself. I think most people do not use 2,600 characters. That would be several paragraphs. If you look at my profile, and I do invite you to connect, you'll see I use a lot of it. I use many, I don't know the exact characters, but I use most of that space. You have to think about what is most important and relevant for you. I mean, if you just have a very short essay, to me, you're missing the opportunity to share, because I believe you want to tell your story, you want to share your values, and even a little thread of who you are as a person, not just all business, but a little bit about what makes you tick as a human being is really good to do.
And I have found that the deepest connections, the ones that are kind of next level, kind of bigger stuff happening, come from the content in that narrative or that essay. And also, we have to always keep the search engine optimization on the line. If they grant you 2,600 characters, you leave money on the table if you don't use it. If you don't use it as a way to express some of the services, some of the special documents that you specialize in, whatever that might be, all of that's going to add up. The long-term impact, the payoff for that is huge. So I would encourage, even if it takes you longer, like this is not a shame cycle webinar, right? We're not shaming you for only having one paragraph, but you can grow into it, add to it every month, go back to it, see if you can tweak it, see if you can add to it, add another sentence, add another paragraph, whatever it might be there. Guys, I just want to acknowledge too, we are past the 1 hour mark. So I think, Sandra, are you good to hang out and answer a few more questions? Ronnie?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Awesome. But if you have to go, I totally understand it. Thank you so much for being here. There is a replay. We're recording it, so we'll send these out. But if you've got some time to hang out and hear the answers to these questions, please do. We're having fun. Okay. If you have a LinkedIn profile totally unrelated to the notary business you currently have, should we just remove that whole thing and start over from scratch?
No. Those people that know you are your potential new prospects or potential new referrals. What you want to do is update your profile, and you're going to add in your new experience, add in your headline, all the new things that you're doing in your life. I have to tell you, I made a major career change in 2013, but a good portion of my business comes from my old life, because they know me, they trust me, they see me on LinkedIn, and they call me to come in and work for their companies to bring LinkedIn training. It's all because I kept, that old network is the pathway to your new network. And these are people that like you and trust you already.
Excellent. I've been working on my profile. LinkedIn says it's going to take 30 days to show publicly. Do you know what that might be, Sandra?
30 days to show publicly?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound familiar. Mm-mm.
Something's up with that. So
yeah, I mean, I think I did years ago heard that, but I have not seen that in a long time. I don't know why somebody would see that.
All right. Sorry, wish we could help more. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. Okay. So about using names, this was a good question. So Gloria says, I'm legally Gloria Holt, but often have used AKA Gloria Barajas Holt, her Spanish maiden name. Do you recommend using this as well on LinkedIn?
So, hey, Gloria, good to see you. Well, I believe that, depending first of all, maiden names are perfectly fine to use. Especially if someone is searching for you, and LinkedIn is I love the way LinkedIn does it actually better than the way Facebook does it. And LinkedIn, they actually show it in a nice way. So it's your option completely, but if people know you by that name or searching for you by that name, then I recommend you add your maiden name. And it won't hurt your search at all. It will only help.
Great. Is it an issue if your LinkedIn profile information is very similar to your website information?
Well, I wouldn't say it's an issue. I think that you want to think about it as an opportunity, because your website, LinkedIn is, you can be a little more personable, I believe. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm not a website expert. I don't have my website identical to my LinkedIn, but I don't think there's not like an SEO problem that I see.
Could I comment on that one?
Yeah, please.
It actually could be an SEO problem. So part of the algorithm for SEO is it doesn't like copied material. You can actually push your website down. LinkedIn, because of the numbers on LinkedIn, is not going to get pushed down. But what my personal preference would be is give them a reason to want to go to your website in your LinkedIn profile. Talk about some of the things you do, and then give them what you're doing on your website. Make it less personal, more about business, so that you're not copying information. I have a 0 copy policy at Unlimited Ink and Notary Stars. If I find anything that's been copied or done, and the writers that write for us cannot post their articles on other websites. So I would say to err on the side of caution for your own website. Use your LinkedIn to be personal and engaging and give them a reason to want to go to your website, but don't use the same information just because most people have a personal website. So hard to get those rankings that I don't take those kinds of risk. It's just a personal thing from everything I've learned about getting my website to where it is in rankings.
Well, it's great to have a website expert. And I will say, to follow up and add to what Ronnie said, and he said you want to point to it. And that's such a good advice, because in the featured section, as well as in the contact section, as well as in the project section, all of those areas are links. So if they're interested in you, what they're reading in the profile, and they say, oh, I'm very interested, you want to prompt them to link and then go over to your website. All those places are where you put in your website links.
Yeah, that featured section too. If you have an online booking system, an automated scheduling, you could have that featured on your LinkedIn. They click that, it takes them to your website to book, or whatever service you have, like Acuity or Calendly. Okay, I think we have time for 2 more questions. First, and I know this is on the minds of everybody, do you suggest the paid version of LinkedIn, and what would be the benefit of doing that?
All right, so this is a very common question. And I'd say I can't give you an answer because it depends on who you are. Like for people to ask me, do I need the premium? I have no idea who's asking me or why they need it, because everyone's different. So, about 40% of the users have premium. I would say many people ask me about premium. Many people have premium and they have no idea why they have it. So you want to look at the features of premium and decide, does it make sense? Right?
Oh.
So I will tell you some of the features. One of them that people are very interested in is who's viewed your profile. You can see for 90 days. On the free version though, you can see who's viewed your profile, the last 5 people, for free. So that's one feature that people seem to really like. But if you look at LinkedIn a lot and you can look at the last 5, then you will still get that information as long as your settings are set up properly. There are other features as well. There's different versions of premium. There's something called LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is about $80 a month. And I think it's a great tool, but I think for most of the notaries that I meet, they're not ready to do that yet. Most of them they need to build out their profile, build out their connections, make their company page. There's so much you can do for free. I'd say master all of that. And that takes some work, and then consider upgrading, because the upgrade's great, but don't do it ahead of when you need to.
I think that's such great advice, because I just automatically assumed that premium was better. So I bought it, and then I never used it. And everything that you can do, whether we're talking about in the book or even in your course, can be done with the free version. You can search by companies. You can search by job title,
yep.
Escrow officers, estate planning attorney, family law attorney. You can search all of that with the free version. LinkedIn is a gold mine if you are trying to connect with professionals. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and really all the stuff we do in the club is around the free version, learning all the tricks on how to use it. Yeah.
All right, this is going to be our last question. I think this is an important one too. It talks about the blending. What about if you are a part-time notary, but you have a full-time career?
Okay, no, that's great. And I see that all the time. It's the same concept. You need to think about who's going to be looking at your profile. If you've got a full-time job and you're a part-time notary, you know, most of us in your, you know, again, I don't know who's asking that, but and basically, you know, normally you'd want to have your full-time job also, you know, being shown, and then you're going to have a separate experience section for your notary business. Now, if you're only trying to emphasize the notary on the LinkedIn profile, if that's really what you're trying to focus on, and most likely, you know, you have a relationship with your boss. I mean, to me, I would want to talk to my manager and say, look, I've got this notary business on the side. This is what I'm doing. I'm positioning myself on LinkedIn. Like, I would want to be open with my connections about that. And
right.
So, sorry, interference. But you know, I don't, but if not, if you don't do that, I think it's important to weave that story together effectively in that essay and in the headline. Those are the two pieces that are going to be really important. Bill, what would you want to add?
I have encountered, I've coached people through this, and I even struggled a little bit on my own. So there is kind of the basic level kind of what Sandra just went over. And then there's some of the psychological game that happens. For me, it was having 26 failed businesses, right? I was like, oh, failed business after failed business. And so I get people all excited and I tell them I'm starting this new venture and I'm this and I'm that. And then suddenly I'm a notary public, and nobody at that time believed that this was a real business, right? Like, it's so under the radar. So I've struggled, and some people, I've had executives in executive positions that are building up to transition into owning their mobile notary and loan signing business. And there's this almost embarrassment about it because they saw it as a step back. So what I would encourage anybody, if that's happening for you, if you just feel like, I don't know how to explain this, I feel like I'm going backwards a little bit, even though they may have come to terms with it to themselves, sharing it with the world makes it different. But think bigger. And if you have to, talk bigger. You know, it's not, I can't stand hearing I'm only a notary public or I'm just a notary public. No, you're not. Our role makes a difference. This work matters. Fortunes are transferred with the swipe of our pen. You know, you're granting rights for other people to make life and death decisions. This is a big deal. And if you own that and maybe talk bigger, I own a mobile notary and loan signing business, then it makes that transition just a little bit easier when you start sharing it on LinkedIn or anywhere in social media or at networking. You're not just one person, you're a team. And quite frankly, you are a team. We have directories that give you access to every notary in the country. You have a team. If you're part of Sign and Thrive, if you're part of the Notary Stars community, Notary to Pro graduate, there's a camaraderie there. The TNT calls, we're in this together. So you are a team. Think bigger, act bigger.
Yeah, and I just want to, I love that advice. I think it's amazing. It comes across, I mean, you know, how you share yourself is so important. And, you know, getting back to that question again, you have, you know, every situation is unique. If you're, and I saw the comment, if your employer, if that's a problem, then you're going to maybe handle it differently. You have to know what's your unique situation. I always believe in being upfront rather than having someone discover something about me that I'm acting secretive about. I just feel like open communications are usually the best policy, but you've got to decide for yourself what works. And I love Bill's idea of thinking big and, you know, showing that passion. So that was a great question. Thank you.
Excellent question. Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. Ronnie, you want to take us home with this?
Yeah, I just want to kind of say at the end here, you know, if you guys showed up here today and you stayed, you know, for the last question to be answered, I always like to say things like this. That speaks volumes to me about who's actually on the call. I know some people can't be here, but I know some of you put off taking a signing today just to be here so you could be here live. If you're looking to build your career, this is the way that you're doing it, is by sitting in on mentorships like these, we're so lucky to have Bill and Sandra come today for our audience at Notary Stars to be able to get this kind of insightful information. And everyone knows that at Notary Stars, I tell you, you have to look at several places. We don't focus on LinkedIn profiles at Notary Stars. So I invited them to do this event because I tell people to go there, but it's great to have this together. And I even sit in on, different types of mentorships throughout my workday. I'll schedule time for myself. This is actually how you get to where you want to be, is investing your time into programs like this, where we come together and we learn with one another in a positive light. So if you were here today, I just want you to know that I even walked away with some information, and I'm constantly chipping away at what I can learn. And I've already you guys have seen me probably looking over to the side, and I'm looking at my LinkedIn profile while this is going. So it's exciting for me to learn these things. But I know every time I come to an event like this, where so many different people come together, and some of the questions that were asked, you get to learn from one another. And don't stop coming to different events. Once you get to where you think you're going to be, I'm successful, Bill's successful, Sandra's successful. We're all here to lead it. But all of us, Bill and I even talked about, we love this thing called Mentor Box. We go to that because we do things, and you have to continue to chip away and learn every little thing that you can in the end. So I want to say thank you to everybody who showed up today. And I hope that you have gotten something out of this. And if you were kind of distracted during, I can't see everyone's face, but if you were kind of distracted during, watch the replay again and make sure you don't miss any of the important information that we brought to you today. And I just want to give a round of applause to both of them for everything that they brought to the table today.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Sandra, likewise. I love that with all the work we do together. And Ronnie, thank you for instigating this and making it happen.
I look forward to working with both of you again in the future. And I always promise the Notary Stars that I don't introduce anything on our website that I haven't personally signed up for myself or bought myself. No printers, no scanners, no nothing. So I'm actually going to be signing up to join so I can learn more with you as well.
Fantastic.
I'm glad I waited to sign up so I can get the discount as well.
I love it.
Fantastic. We'll have a lot of fun. It was great to see everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you later.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for everybody for what you brought to the table today.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. So glad you were here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.